Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of Top 5. This is the show where I take a topic in progressive rock and give my top 5 on that particular topic. The topics are developed by my wife. She comes up with the ideas and then I just off the top of my head come up with 5 things that strike me. I don't do much research or delve too much into the history. I just am trying to do a fun, breezy show where I just give a list of 5 and then let you guys in the comments come up with your lists and let me know how you feel about the topic at hand. So hopefully you guys enjoy this format. I've been having a lot of fun with it. If you want to subscribe because you like these top 5 shows, that would be really appreciated for my channel. We do these every Tuesday, so you can stay informed and stay alerted to these episodes when they come out. And I would appreciate a comment and a like as well. And thank you guys just for supporting the channel before we get into it. So I appreciate that. So today's topic is epics of the 1990s. I did prog epics of the 70s before, which was a lot of fun, and a lot of people seem to really enjoy that episode. It was one of my most viewed of this series, so I'm really appreciative of the views that went to that. But now we're moving a little forward in time into the 1990s and looking at some epics that came out in the 90s. And maybe for a lot of you, 90s isn't really thought of as the prime time of prog or the prime time of these epics. But there was some really interesting things happening in the 90s. Some bands starting up that would be in greater prominence even later through their career. So I think there's some interesting tracks to discuss here. And I'd be very interested to see what you guys have on your lists in the comments. So please comment for me. It gives me a lot of good recommendations and things to look at, songs I've never heard before. So I really like that part of this series. But getting into my list, at number 5, I'm picking Yes and their track Endless Dream from Talk. This came out in 1994. It's a 15-minute track that's divided into 3 parts on the record: Silent Spring, Talk, and Endless Dream. So the opening part is a bit of an instrumental that repeats this piano riff, then goes into a longer piece. It's really a cool track by Yes, maybe not up to the heights of like their classic 70s period, but I think there's a lot to be enjoyed here. It evoked, after a string of albums that felt a bit different, that they were somewhat abandoning their classic sound, I feel like this was them re-embracing that progressive spirit of the 70s that made them so special. So for that reason, I think it's a really great epic and a great piece that showcases Yes in the 90s and what they were trying to do, and them somewhat coming back to their roots and trying to really develop something that would be pleasing to the prog fans that they have. So I really like that track. Number 4, I've picked Marillion's track, The Strange Engine, from The Strange Engine. Title track, basically. This is a really cool track from Marillion. This album came out in 1997. I went through Marillion's discography not too long ago, so this was a pick that stood out to me. It's a tribute by Steve Hogarth to his father, who was a marine engineer and an officer, so who sacrificed his life at sea for a job in a coal mine so that he could be close to family. So it's very nostalgic. Steve Hogarth really gets a chance to shine on vocals here, but you got some great flowing piano melodies and beautiful guitar solos throughout, some really high octane, interesting rocking sections to this, but also some really beautifully emotional stuff. I remember going through this album and thinking it was a bit, my criticism of Marillion oftentimes is that they can be a bit more laid back and atmospheric and don't have a lot of heavier, more rock type sections to add more energy into their music. But I think this is a great example where they do add a lot of energy into the song and have this cool rocking section that moves through different subgenres and different things from acoustic to jazz fusion, and there's just so much baked in, so much to uncover and unpack in this great epic from Marillion. So I definitely recommend checking that one out. Number 3 on my list is A Change of Seasons by Dream Theater. This was originally, I believe, going to be part of their Images and Words album, but didn't quite make the cut because the record label wanted it to be a shorter album, so it was too long to be part of that album. So it ended up being part of this additional EP that was released in 1995. It includes audio samples from Dead Poets Society. Its lyrics were written by Mike Portnoy. His basic concept for it is about the cycle of life, taking some personal incidents in his life, like losing his mother, and a couple of things that happened, and writing those into the lyrics. Has this big carpe diem sort of motif that goes throughout the piece, but it's just a great example of Dream Theater's ability to create these expansive epics, to have really cool instrumental interplay, but great lyrics as well. And it goes through so many different moods and styles. And it's just one of their most epic pieces that people always point to as one of the best examples of the band and them at the height of their abilities as a band in this 90s period, because they came out with Images and Words, which was such a fantastic statement for progressive metal. And this just continued that feel because it basically came from those same sessions. So I believe it's the first release that featured Derek Sherinian on keyboard, so we're introducing a new keyboardist in the mix as well. So there's some history with this piece, and it's one they've played often. They played it at a concert I went to not too long ago when they were replaying a lot of Images and Words for an anniversary of Images and Words, I believe. But it was really a great time to hear this piece in all of its glory. It's a really great piece that showcases the band and their prog sensibilities, and I really like it. Number 2 on my list is Spock's Beard and their track The Light. The Light came out in 1995, and it really introduced Neil Morse onto the scene. This is his first big progressive rock piece. Of course, Neil Morse is one of my favorite all-time artists, and Spock's Beard might be my favorite band of all time, at least the classic lineup. So The Light is such a definitive, great statement for the group that showcases their ability to do these expanded epics, to go through a lot of different movements and sections, and to have a lot of fun with it. Neil Morse is able to write these sections that you wouldn't think would fit into a classic prog song, like this flamenco type section like Senior Velasco, but somehow it fits right into the mix and just adds just the right quirk and variety to the music to just make you smile and get excited for that part when it's about to pop up, and there's just so many fun lyrics, and it's like about this almost multiple personality disorder of this person who has a lot of different personas, and it goes through so many different moods and sections. And it's a fun time. It's one of my favorite pieces of music because of how fun it is to explore all these different musical moods and feelings, to the more contemplative, to the almost angry section towards the end of the Catfish Man. It's Neil Morse at his most pure, almost, just doing what he loves and not worrying so much. Because before this, he was trying to make it big. He's trying to become a famous songwriter, but it just was not working out. He never really broke into the scene. So this was him putting aside that ambition and saying, I'm just going to do the music I love. I'm just going to do something fun that embraces my influences, and here it is for everyone to witness. And it's a beautiful thing. It's just him at his core expressing his own personality, and I love it for that. I think it's a brilliant epic. And then finally, we reach number 1, which for me is the Flower Kings and their track Stardust We Are from this album of the same name from 1997. This is just such an amazing track that harkens back to the classics. This sounds like it could be a track that was inspired by Yes and Genesis and all of the classics. It could fit right in line with the classics of the 70s, but with some updated production values and sounds and a little bit of a modern tinge to it based on the musical landscape at the time. Roine Stolt is such a talent, and he's able to really craft a really great piece of music that is a great culmination of the entire album. It's a double album, and I feel like throughout the album they're hinting towards a lot of the themes that come up in Stardust We Are, so it makes it that much more powerful when you finally reach it in the album proper. And it's just such a great piece of work that it goes through so many movements, just like all of these pieces do. It has almost a spacey vibe at times. It has this really positive, uplifting sections, has multiple vocalists, it has acoustic moments, but then more electric and more electrifying moments. And it's just one of their most bright pieces of music that fans to this day always shout for in concert and just can't get enough of, for good reason, because it's such a beautiful epic. And I thankfully have covered it with Jana on the show. We had a lot of fun with it when we went through it. It's one of the ones that stood out to Jana, I think, even now. And so it's just a great piece of music that I recommend checking out if you haven't heard it. I'm sure many of you have, but just such a great epic that I think the Flower Kings cornered the market a little bit on some of these big epic pieces throughout the 90s and into the 2000s. So that is my list of the top 5 prog epics of the 90s. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this list. Please let me know what prog epics you guys enjoy down below in the comments. I'm sure you guys will mention a lot of tracks that I haven't heard before and would love to check out, so please do that. And I thank you guys for joining me once again on this top 5 journey. So hopefully you guys are having a great time out there and enjoying the music, and I hope to catch you in another top 5. Bye, everybody.